If I told you that someone tried to steal my home right out from under me, literally while I was asleep in it, you'd probably think I'm dramatic, confused, or senile. I'm not. My name is Margaret and Holbrook, and I'm 74 years old. I live alone in the same two-story farmhouse I was raised in, the house my father built board by board, laughing with my mother on summer evenings and swearing under thunderstorms when a nail bent wrong. My husband died 7 years ago. My son, well, you'll see, this story isn't clean, or pretty, or easy to tell, but I need to tell it. You know those nights where sleep presses heavy on your bones, thicker than fog, where dreams feel real and waking feels distant and dull? I had one of those the night before everything snapped. A quiet Wednesday. The kind of night where the air hangs warm, and every creak of the house sounds like memories walking. I fell asleep in my armchair like I always do, TV whispering reruns to no one. My old quilt was tucked up to my chin, my reading glasses balanced crooked on my nose. The fan hummed, steady and soft. Nothing unusual. Just an old woman and an old house breathing together in the dark. I didn't know that while I slept, men were walking through my hallways, men with flashlights, men with clipboards, men speaking as if the place already belonged to them. My first sign was voices, deep, low, muttering. I woke to them like you wake to thunder, heart slamming before your eyes even open. I sat up slowly, thinking maybe it was the TV. But the TV light was off. Only moonlight washed across the room, cold and silver. A male voice, too close, said, "The wiring's old, but salvageable." Another answered, "We can renovate. Flip it fast." Renovate. Flip. I held my breath. My old chair groaned under me, loud in the silence. I froze. I wanted to scream, but the sound died behind my teeth, stuck like grief. I reached for my cane, my hand shaking so badly it knocked into the table. The noise echoed like a gunshot, footsteps stopped, then, "Hello?" A third voice. Younger. Too calm. My entire body went numb. I stood, barefoot, cane in hand, and I felt 80 instead of 74. My throat burned. Every step was a prayer not to collapse. I moved toward the hallway, slow, slow, slow. When I reached the doorway, my breath caught. 3 men stood in my home. Strangers. Professional clothes, shiny shoes, real estate smiles. One of them held a folder with papers sticking out, bold letters visible under moonlight, property transfer agreement, and beneath it, seller, Margaret and Holbrook. I stared so long the world tilted. My chest tightened like a vice. One man finally noticed me, his expression freezing like clay cooling. He said carefully, as if approaching a wounded dog, "You're awake." I gripped my cane harder. "This is my house. What are you doing here?" The tallest one smiled, polite, practiced. "We have a scheduled showing. Prospective buyers will be here at 9 a.m. I nearly collapsed. "A showing?" My voice cracked. I never listed it." The man flipped through papers, not even looking at me. "Your son did. As power of attorney." My skin turned ice beneath my nightgown. My son, my only child, was selling my home like a used couch. Selling it while I lay asleep inside. I whispered, trembling, "He doesn't have power of attorney." The man paused, and then smiled again. "He does now." The room spun. Furniture blurred. My ears rang so hard I couldn't hear my own breathing. My mind flashed with birthdays, scraped knees, Christmas stockings. I raised that boy. I gave him everything I had. And he gave me this. Something inside me hardened. Slowly, like winter turning to ice. I straightened. My voice, thin but steady, cut the room. "You need to leave. Right now." The men exchanged looks, annoyance, disbelief. One side, "The paperwork is filed. You can fight it if you want, but the sale is already in motion. We were told you'd be relocated soon." Relocated. Like I was furniture. Like I was clutter. My hand shook, but I didn't let go of the cane. "Get out." For a second, I think they saw something in my eyes, something old, sharp, unbreakable. They stepped back. Muttered. Gathered their folders and flashlights and let themselves out through the kitchen door. When the latch clicked behind them, the house fell dead silent. I stood alone in the dark, heart pounding like a war drum, hands cold as stone. And my son tried to sell my house while I was sleeping. And I knew then, as I stood shaking in the moonlit stillness of my living room, that this wasn't just negligence. It was betrayal deliberate. calculated, and I wasn't going to let it happen, not quietly, not gracefully. No, when I was done, people were going to remember my name. Sleep didn't return to me that night. I sat in the dark until sunrise, the quiet thick enough to choke on. My coffee tasted like rust, my hands trembling so badly the cup tapped against its saucer like a heartbeat. I kept replaying the voices. The papers. The bold legal letters beneath moonlight, power of attorney, relocation scheduled, showing that my own son wanted me out. No, he planned me out. By 9 a.m. The doorbell rang. I didn't open it. But I stood behind the curtain, breathing slow, watching a young couple in matching designer jackets step back onto the porch. A real estate agent, not from last night, greeted them with 2 white teeth and a clipboard in hand. She gestured toward the house cheerfully. This property is a rare find. The owner is elderly and eager to move to assisted living, so the price is well below market. My fists balled so tight my nails cut crescent moons into my palms. Eager, assisted living. They were already selling the lie. I cracked the door just enough for my voice to slide through. Sharp, controlled, dangerous. I'm not moving anywhere. The agent whipped around, wide-eyed. The couple blinked, unsure whether to laugh or run. I live here, I continued. And no one is buying my home today. The agent tried to recover, smoothing her blazer like confidence was fabric. Mrs. Holbrook, your son. I opened the door fully, chin high. My son doesn't speak for me. Silence. The couple shuffled back. The agent stammered something about miscommunication, retreating down the steps with polite apologies nobody believed. They left, heels clicking like tiny hammers on the past. Only when their car disappeared down the road did I let myself collapse into the hallway chair, heart racing, breath shallow, like I'd just fought a bear instead of 3 polite strangers with pens. But adrenaline is a strange friend. It haunted me all day, pushing, whispering, do something. So I did. I spent the afternoon digging through drawers, boxes, tax folders yellowed with time. Every bill, every deed, every legal scrap I could find. The house smelled like dust and old life. My eyesight blurred, but my mind burned clear. 2 hours in, I found it. The original deed named No Code No Transfer Authorization, but that stapled on top as if someone tried to bury it under legitimacy, a signature I recognized. Sloppy. Rushed. My sons, and the form it was attached to? A legal request for transfer of authority, except my signature was forged. My hand flew to my mouth. I don't know if I cried or laughed or both. Rage, grief, disbelief tangled inside me until I couldn't tell one from the other. My son had signed my name like I was already gone, like he could erase me with ink. The phone rang then, slicing through the house like a blade. I answered. His voice was calm. Casual. Like he wasn't a thief in a tailored suit. Hey, Ma. Silence crackled between us like static. You sold my house, I whispered. He sighed. Ma, don't start. You need help. The place is falling apart. You can't live there alone. It's best for you, best for me. My voice shook with something deep, ancient. Or best for you and whatever you owe or want to buy. He was quiet. Too quiet. When he spoke, his tone changed, smooth, rehearsed. I could almost hear the smirk. I already signed the paperwork. You will move out. For a moment I couldn't breathe. You forged my name. He didn't deny it. Not even a flinch of guilt in his voice. You're old, he said. Nobody will believe you. Something in me snapped like dry timber. I sat up straighter. My voice lowered, soft, lethal. A calm I hadn't felt since I was 40, and stood up to a man twice my size in a grocery store line. You think old means helpless. You think I won't fight. You're wrong. He chuckled, a sound I will hate until I die. Good luck with that. Then he hung up. I stared at the dead line, pulse roaring in my ears. My son, my baby boy I swaddled in flannel blankets, believed he could take everything I owned because of the years on my bones. He thought I'd go quietly. He didn't know who raised him. He didn't know what 74 years of surviving death, bills, men, winters, life, does to a woman. That night I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat at the kitchen table, and planned that if he wanted a war, I'd give him one. Not loud. Not angry. A quiet kind of revenge, the kind you don't see until it's too late. He tried to take my home. He forgot who taught him how to fight. The next morning I woke before dawn. No alarm, just purpose. A sharp electric clarity in my blood, like I was 20 again and life hadn't wrinkled my hands or thinned my hair. I made coffee so strong it tasted like revenge itself and sat watching the sky bleed pink across the horizon. That house, my house, felt different now. The walls weren't just wood and memory, they were a battleground. Every creak sounded like warning. Every shadow felt like betrayal waiting to slip through the door. I wasn't afraid, I was aware. My first move was small, almost gentle. I called the county clerk's office, voice steady, polite. Asked for a copy of any recorded transfer of property regarding my address. The woman on the phone paused, typing slowly. No transfer recorded. I felt something warm flicker in my chest. Hope. No, not hope. Validation. But, she added, voice tightening, we do have a pending file awaiting verification. Signed by a relative with power of attorney. So it wasn't done yet. He hadn't finished the theft, he was in the middle of it. And that meant I still had time to cut his fingers from the deed before he sealed it. I thanked her sweetly and hung up. My hand trembled, with adrenaline, with fury, with a strange, bittersweet grief. Because this was my son. My baby, my only child. The same boy I taught to tie his shoes, who used to cry when scraped knees bled. How do you fight the person you gave life to? By remembering he's no longer the child you raised. Hours passed in a blur of preparation. I gathered every document. Every photograph. Every old letter proving residency, inheritance, lineage. Filed them neatly. Labeled them. Took pictures. Scanned copies to a flash drive. I might have been 74, but I wasn't too old to learn technology when survival depended on it. My cane tapped across hardwood as I moved room to room. Not old, not weak, methodical. A woman sharpening knives. By afternoon, I called a lawyer. A real one. Not cheap. The kind who could take down sharks, even if they wore my son's face. His name was Richard. Voice low, patient, seasoned. You're not the first elderly client to call me about a child trying to take everything, he said. But you sound different. You sound ready to fight. I breathed out, slow and precise. I am. He scheduled a meeting for Friday. 48 hours. 48 hours for my son to make another move or for me to make mine first. And I did. That night I baked cookies. Yes, cookies. Oatmeal cranberry, his childhood favorite. You might think I'd never feed a man who betrayed me, who tried to bury me alive under legal paperwork. But revenge doesn't always taste like poison. Sometimes, it tastes like nostalgia, sweet before it burns. I sent him a text. Come by tomorrow. We need to talk. I made cookies. He replied minutes later. Good. We can discuss moving you out. I laughed, a soft, startling sound in an empty kitchen. The house felt lighter. Or maybe I did. The next day he came. My son, taller than I remembered, suit too expensive for someone who worked irregular jobs, eyes cold in a way I wish I could UNC. He walked in like he owned the place. Like I was just renting my memories from him. Well, he said, dropping his keys on my table. Let's be adults about this. Adults. He meant obedient. He meant quiet. I set the cookies down between us and watched him take one, watched the nostalgia soften him just a little. His shoulders relaxed. He smiled faintly, a ghost of the boy he once was. He said, mouth full, casual like we were discussing whether I already have 2 cash buyers lined up. Once the paperwork clears, we'll move you into a care home I picked. They have nurses. It'll be better for everyone. Better for everyone. Everyone. I guess I wasn't included in everyone. I breathed slowly. And what do I get? I asked. He shrugged. Peace. And a room with a view. A room with a view. My heart clenched, then hardened. I leaned forward, voice gentle as winter frost. I spoke to the county clerk. His chewing stopped. No transfer has been recorded. Not yet. And the signature you used, the one pretending to be mine, won't hold in court. I have the original deed. I have proof. And I hired a lawyer. His face drained of color, fast and ugly. His eyes flashed anger, panic, calculation. You wouldn't. You already did. We stared across the table like enemies across a trench. He set down the cookie slowly. His jaw clenched. His voice dropped to a low, venomous whisper. You're too old for this fight. I smiled, soft and lethal. That's what makes it fair. He pushed back his chair so hard it scraped like metal on bone. He stood. Towering. Furious. You think a lawyer scares me? No, I said, rising with my cane like a sword. But being exposed might. His mouth twitched, fear behind arrogance. He turned toward the door, breath sharp. This isn't over. The door slammed behind him, shaking the walls. I stood alone in the quiet kitchen, cookies cooling, heart steady as thunder. He was right. It wasn't over. It was only beginning, and I had just declared war. The night after he stormed out, I didn't sleep. I walked room to room, touching walls with fingertips like reading Braille from my own life. Every photograph, every dent in the floor, every curtain my mother stitched. I belonged here like the roots of the oak in the yard, slow, steady, permanent. He thought an old woman wouldn't fight. He forgot old women are made of bone and memory and will be why Friday morning, I dressed with purpose. I wore my late husband's watch, heavy on my wrist like resolve, and my best navy coat. My reflection looked older than I felt, hair white as morning frost, eyes bright with something fierce. At 11 o'clock sharp, I met my lawyer, Richard. He shook my hand firmly, the kind of handshake that makes you feel like you're not alone. We'll file the fraud petition today, he said. Once it's in motion, any sale attempt is frozen. Frozen, the sweetest word I'd ever heard. We signed papers, legal shields, notarized truth. My hands didn't shake once. Afterward, we walked into the county office together. The receptionist glanced at me, at Richard, at the tidy stack of documents in my trembling but steady grip. I placed them down like laying down cards in a game. I always knew I'd win. It was done. My son's forged signature was officially challenged. The house was protected, temporarily, but protected. All I had to do was wait for him to find out. And oh, he did. 2 days later, sometime near dusk, a black SUV screeched into my driveway so fast gravel flew like sparks. The doors slammed and then he was inside. No knock, no courtesy, just fury wearing my son's face. You reported me, he spat. His voice cracked under the weight of it. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen, cane in hand like a staff, steady as a lighthouse in stormwater. You forged my name. You tried to sell my home. I stepped closer. You made this war. For a moment, his anger wavered. Briefly, painfully, he looked like a little boy again. Lost. Desperate. I needed money, Mom. His voice broke. I'm in debt. Real debt. You don't understand. No, I said gently. I do. But you chose yourself over me. He swore under his breath, pacing like a trapped animal. His fists clenched. His eyes darted around the house like he was searching for escape. You're ruining everything, he said. I am saving myself. He approached, too quick, too loud, shoulders high with hostility. I backed up but stood my ground. My heart hammered but did not falter, and then he made the mistake. He grabbed my arm. Not hard enough to break, just enough to terrify. The room snapped into focus, the old clock ticking, the smell of lemon oil on wood, the sound of his breath. Then I said something I never imagined saying to my child. If you touch me again, you will leave here in handcuffs. His hand dropped, silence, thick, final. I walked past him, slow and deliberate, and picked up something from the counter, a paper I'd left waiting, the official cease and desist order. I held it out to him. You are barred from entering my property. You will speak to me only through legal counsel. You are no longer welcome in this home. His face changed, disbelief folding into rage, rage into panic, panic into a small, broken sadness. Mom, you can't do this. I felt tears sting behind my eyes but I did not break. You already did, I whispered. He stepped back like I'd struck him. He looked around the kitchen, the table he built with his father, the window he once smudged with sticky fingers, the cookie tin he emptied as a child. He swallowed hard, said nothing, and walked out the front door. No slamming this time. Just the sound of footsteps fading, my son leaving not just the house, but the last thread that tied us. When his car finally disappeared, I let myself sink into a chair. The quiet was thick, painful, victorious. My hands shook. My breath came hot and uneven. Tears spilled, slow, silent, not weak. He was my child, but I was still me, and I had saved myself. Weeks passed. The legal battle was messy, hearings, affidavits, proof piled like bricks. But in the end, truth stands heavier than ink forged in greed. The court ruled the transfer invalid. His forged power of attorney was void. The house remained mine, permanently. He avoided me after that. Months turned into half a year without a call, a message, a knock. Sometimes I stood at the window at dusk, wondering if he ever felt guilt. Wondering if he missed me. Wondering if I missed him. I did. Of course I did, but missing someone doesn't mean trusting them again. Now I sit here writing this, 74, alive, proud, in the house they tried to steal while I was sleeping. Some nights I walk the halls with slow, soft steps, touching the banister like an old friend. I breathe in dusty perfume of memory and survival. And I think they thought I was fragile. They thought age meant weakness. They thought I would go quietly. Instead, I reminded them, old women do not break. We endure, and when pushed, we bite back. So if you ever think you can take something from someone just because they're alone, or older, or quiet, remember me. I was sleeping, and I woke up and I fought.